Hello ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Latmore here. A couple years ago I shot a video about what's the best compensation plan. Basically, it was more of a reaction to all the people that lead with that in their marketing. It's their pitch. Join our company, we've got the best compensation plan. No, our comp plan is better than yours. And I thought that as the industry has evolved, because I think I shot that maybe 5-6 years ago, it's probably got about 15,000 views or so on YouTube, that I would bring it back because it's more prominent now than ever. As the industry gets bigger and more people are getting started, you really need to understand the differences in the compensation plans, and you also need to understand the thought process, or why it's so asinine that people say my compensation plan is better than your compensation plan. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about both sides of that equation. The first side is compensation plans really don't matter, okay? Behavior does. Like what you do will determine. And if you do enough of it, most compensation plans will give you money. Why I say it doesn't matter, why this one's best or that one's not as good, or whatever this big compensation plan war out there is, it's because the compensation plan that's best for you might not be the one that's best for me. What I mean by that is here, I just finished doing an extensive training for people that are in some of my mastermind groups and stuff and that. But long story short, I talked about the binary, unilevel, party plan, direct sales. Unilevel could also be talked about as a stair-step breakaway, kind of falls in there. There's matrices, which are usually fours. Got 1-ups, 2-ups, affiliates, rev shares. That pretty much encompasses everything in the compensation plan world. Now, if you're better at gathering customers, let's say you're just a lady who's very gregarious. She's out there, she's fun, she's very vibrant, she has a lot of friends, but she's not really a numbers person, she's not really a meetings person, she doesn't want to fly around from city to city and train people, she doesn't want to hold a marker and teach people and so on. She just wants to get passionate about a product and share it with people. She's going to do best in a party plan or some form of direct sales, okay? Now myself, I'm not the biggest customer gatherer. Just because I do a lot of work, I typically get a pretty decent amount of customers, but not something that could ever sustain me, or my family for that matter. I have 5 children and a wife that's a shopaholic. Don't tell her I said that. And these plans would never give me the kind of income that I'm looking for. My best run in network marketing is a company that in my first year I put in about 50 people. We were doing nearly $2 million a month, and we're making well over 6 figures on a monthly basis. In 61 countries is where my team was, and I think our first year we developed a team that had about 17,000 people or so. So I'm a builder. I develop leaders. I develop sales forces. I train. I motivate. I incentivize, so on and so forth. I'm not a real customer gatherer. I'm not in people's houses every day selling one product here, one product there. I do have a lot of people on my team that do that, and I embrace them wholly. So you can't tell me that the ladies that's selling, the party plan, making good money for her, that's a better compensation plan. Because for her it is. For me it is absolutely not. Nor can I tell that lady that she should join my business and do what I do and make that. Because you see, there's only $1, right, that a company can take in. They take in multiple, but at the end of the day, you boil it down to its lowest common denominator. Every company takes in $1. What they decide to do with that dollar is where the magic happens. Now, again, a party plan or direct sales will allocate more money, maybe 20-30% towards the people doing the sales, right? Because that's what it's all about. They need to make a lot of money per sale because they're not going to do a lot more other than do some sales. Whereas in the plans that I typically like, that work best for me or other high-end leaders, let's say, we want to get something that obviously pays people and rewards them, because we need people to help move a lot more product, right? And maybe they'll make 10 or 15% for sales. That extra 15, 20% that would normally be allocated to one person in a party plan is now disseminated through a team or paid to upline leaders like me to help train, motivate, keep people on point, help them build sales aids and sales tools, so on and so forth. So this is the best compensation plan, that's the best compensation plan. Another thing that can determine that too is geography, right? Different plans work differently in different countries. They're predisposed to like certain things over others, especially when you get into the Asian markets. They typically like binaries, and again, that's a generalization, but sometimes those organizations can get very big. The last thing you want to have happen is for it to be a multi-level marketing. We only get paid on certain levels. I was in a plan that only paid me up to 8 levels, but my team was 77 levels deep. Now, granted, I was making over $500,000 a year, which was great, but based on doing $2 million in sales a month, it didn't feel that great. I knew it could have been more had I been in a compensation plan like a binary with that company. So again, different strokes for different folks. Stop being out there and leading with your compensation plan. People do not join compensation plans, they join people. The last little tidbit that I think I should also insert right here and let you guys know about is the one caveat to all of this is also if someone had a life-changing experience or some kind of dramatic difference that a product made for them. Product, very important word. For instance, if someone had some kind of rash on their skin or some kind of hideous, birthmark or whatever, sorry to be so graphic, and they used some cream from a company and it disappeared and all their friends were like, what happened? Oh my gosh, you look so different. Or someone had a weight loss transformation that just caused their friends to be so envious. Or someone had some kind of medical ailment that based on using a certain product had disappeared or became a lot more manageable, then that company, as long as legitimate, has some decent kind of compensation plan, will typically work really well for that person because they get to use the best element of all compensation plans, and that's heart. They speak from the heart, they speak with passion, and regardless of how bad a comp plan is, if you had a good enough reaction, if you share it with enough people, you will make a lot of money being passionate about that. You are in no position to tell someone that you have the best compensation plan for them. If some wonder juice, some wonder vitamin, some wonder herb, some wonder cream did X or produced X result for this person, no matter how much money you want to pay them to sell long distance service or travel or your wonder cream, it's not going to be the same experience for that person, and therefore you do not have the best compensation plan. So stop saying we have the best. It makes you sound silly. It makes you sound like you have no idea what you're talking about, or at the very least you don't care about the people you're recruiting because you're being ignorant. The best compensation plan will be predicated upon some of the X's and O's, yes, but it's also their heart, their experience with the product, and what best suits their skill set. Out.